divine light, shine on us this evening as we open our hearts and our minds to the Spirit that flows not only through this place, but through each of us and through the world. May we be filled, may we be blessed, and may we leave here full of light. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of each of our hearts be filled with your insight and your wisdom. Amen. Amen. Christmas Eve for me has always been a time of stories, not only the Christmas story, the story of Jesus' birth, but just stories that fill our hearts and bring us light and, I don't know, make us sappy. You know, that's what Christmas is. Let me share a story with you. True story. It's about a little boy named Joseph who was 7 years old. One of 6 kids. Joseph of the 6th was the one who most marched to the beat of his own drummer. One of those kids who had to do everything his own way, which was great. So we came to one Christmas season, and it was the 3rd Sunday in Advent, and Joseph got to light the 3rd Advent candle, which traditionally is the candle of joy. But you could just see his little face concentrating on the seriousness of lighting this candle and perhaps what it meant to him to bring joy to others and hope to others as the other candles were lit. And it was shortly after that his mom noticed him sort of surreptitiously walking through the dining room and opening drawers and rummaging through things and looking under cabinets and going through piles on tables. And she just kind of watched as he got sort of a frustrated look on his face and heaved a heavy sigh and walked out. She thought, well, that was interesting. But she's got 6 kids, so she knew enough that, if he needed something, he'd ask. But throughout that coming week, she noticed this odd behavior over and over again. He'd walk into a room, he'd rummage through closets, he'd look under sofas, he'd look under beds, he was doing all of these odd things. And she finally said, "Joel, what you doing?" And he looked kind of embarrassed, like he'd been caught at something he shouldn't be doing. He said, "Oh, no, nothing. Well, Christmas Eve came around, and it was tradition in their family to put up the Christmas tree on that evening. And then to put all of the gifts that have sort of been coming in, from the grandparents and the aunts and uncles, and put everything under the tree. And so as they did that, they started putting the presents under the tree. Joe came in with this big pile of gifts in his arms, which clearly gifts that he'd wrapped, because they were all done in newspaper and yards of tape, and very proud and very happy and very excited. Here he comes with these big boxes for everybody. He puts them under the tree. And Mom's thinking, oh, where does he get all this stuff? Because he doesn't have the funds to be getting anybody anything. And there had been a few incidents of shoplifting in the last 6 months. They were in a department store, and the manager caught him slipping an eraser into his pocket and sort of called him out. It turned out to be true, and she said, "Joe, why'd you take the eraser?" He said, "Well, Jimmy has one just like it." Which apparently, to a 7-year-old, is perfect justification for taking an eraser. And then, apparently, a few months before that, he had just shown up with enough candy bars for all of his siblings. And after some questioning, found out that he'd been acting sort of furtive at the convenience store down the block. So Mom was a little nervous going to sleep Christmas Eve. Thought about sneaking in and opening some presents just to make sure. Maybe she needed to head something off. But decided to let it be, let it ride. Christmas morning, they got up, they went to church, had breakfast, and they gathered around the living room, started opening presents, and people sort of instinctively avoided Joey's presents until there weren't a whole lot left, and Joe kind of said, "Can I give everyone my presents now?" And Mom took a deep breath and went, "Sure, Joe." Inside thinking, "Oh, may as well get this over with," and rehearsing in her head what she's going to have to say. "Oh, isn't that, where did you get that, Joe? Did Grandma take you shopping? Did she buy it for you?" The first present he grabbed was for his oldest sister, Christine. This oddly shaped, strangely wrapped gift that he walked up and he said, "Christine, this is for you." And she's all of 13 years old, but she looks a little perplexed at what this was, and she started unwrapping the layers of newspaper and tape until she came across a hairbrush. "Joe, it's my hairbrush!" Of course, it was the brush she'd been missing for weeks. That's the only brush that works right. Some of us understand this. That works right with her hair. And as she's trying to get out of him where he found this, he moves on to another present that he hands to his oldest brother, Jeremy. And Jeremy starts to unwrap it, and it's Jeremy's old cleats that disappeared right before the playoffs at the end of August. And one by one, he brings gifts to each of his siblings and to his parents, and with wonder and surprise, they all open something that they had somehow lost or forgotten or misplaced in the chaos of a family of 8. Mom's gift was a little porcelain Madonna and Child that had sat on the corner of her desk, which Joey claimed she hadn't even noticed had been gone for the last couple of weeks. Because obviously it had stopped meaning anything. It had been just a little thing she bought for 50 cents at a garage sale a couple years ago, and really in her head it was sort of just junk. But after that night, that little Madonna and Child got a place of honor in the front of her curio cabinet, where she could look at it and remember a little boy who gave from his heart and who gave them the gift of perhaps finding the things that they lost, rediscovering things that had been missing. And I wonder if perhaps that's why we do this every Christmas Eve. Not so much because we're celebrating something new. So often you hear, the newborn king, and we have all these phrases that make it sound like suddenly God just appeared. But truly, God was present long before Jesus was around. And hope and peace and love and joy were around long before Jesus was around. And there was light in the darkness long before Jesus was around. But maybe that birth was kind of like Joey handing out presents, helping everybody to remember what they already had deep inside themselves. And so perhaps that's why we're here, is to remember what we have deep inside ourselves. Somehow throughout the year we lose sight of some of these Christmas time gifts of, the candles remind us of love and joy and hope and peace. We lose sight of them. We lose sight of love when we have drama and chaos in our families, or when we lose somebody that we love dearly, or maybe we break up with someone, or we have a broken heart, maybe we've been betrayed. We lose sight of love until we're reminded at Christmas that there's an unconditional love that's there for all of us. And somehow that unconditional love at this time of the year bubbles up out of us again, doesn't it? Don't you feel like you kind of want to be nice all of a sudden to like the people next to you in the grocery line, and you get this feeling that's welling up inside that wants to be shared, that we remember this time. So often we lose sight of joy in the uncertain times that we're living in. These times that cause us worry and fear. Or sometimes we have things that are going really well, and we're afraid to be too joyful because we're all waiting for the other shoe to fall. And so we just tamper that joy just a little bit. And we don't sing as loudly as we do this night. We don't smile as much as we do this night. We don't enjoy the snow as much as we do on this night. But somehow that joy at Christmas time, we remember it. Because we want to sing with the angels, and we want to laugh and smile with the children. And we somehow feel that deep, abiding joy again. That was always there. We lose sight of hope in these times of violence and hatred and drugs and human trafficking and the depletion of natural resources and on and on and on. We lose sight of hope. Where things happen in our lives, one thing after another, so that we're so beaten down that we feel despair. We feel helpless and we feel hopeless. But somehow at Christmas time, that little spark of hope comes back. Somehow we can remember that all it takes is a child, all it takes is one person to shine light in the darkness. And you know what? We were all that child, that little child once. We all have the ability to bring that hope back. And I think we remember that when we watch Nora and Nolan read. I think there's hope again. And peace, we lose sight of peace. And I don't just mean peace in our families or real peace. We lose sight of our inner peace, our inner equilibrium, that balance. We forget to slow down. We forget to turn off our TVs and our cell phones and our computers, and we go and go and go, and we don't stop to feel the gentleness of a moment. We don't stop to take a deep breath. We don't stop to touch that abiding peace that's already in us. We've just lost it. And yet, this night, where we dim the lights, and we sing the songs, and we light the candles, and we gather in a place of love, gives us a moment to touch that inner peace again. Oh yeah, there you are. I remember you. Those are the gifts for you tonight. What have you forgotten you already have? What have you needed to touch again? What did you do? What do you need to stop taking for granted? That's already within you. The love and the joy and the hope and the peace that this night brings again are all gifts for you. Take them, put them in a place of honor, find a curious spot, hold them tight, let them fill you and warm you, and give you hope. Not just tonight, but in all the nights to come.